Okay, I'm gonna try to put my video on. It is having some issues, but we'll see how long it lasts. So I apologize if it starts blinking. Let's see. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks everybody for attending our quarterly LPNA meeting. We're gonna start first by introducing, there it goes, sorry. Introducing the board members who are in the meeting right now. So my name is Karen Lattin. I am the vice president. I've been in the neighborhood for about 20 years and live over on the far end by off of Cheltenham. And Greg, why don't you go?
Yes, hi. Greg Peck, president of the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association. I've been in my house here in Los Paseos for 50 plus years, and involved in neighborhood activities.
Lynn, you want to go?
Unmute.
How about Alan? Alan, you want to go? Oh, Lynn, you're there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I'm Lynn Steele, the bright one of the group. I've lived in the neighborhood on Avenida España for 32 years, and I love it here.
Alan?
I'm Alan Chan. I'm actually on two systems here, so even though it says I'm muted, I'm not. I'm a member at large in the community. I help with all the technical issues, photographs, videos, et cetera, et cetera.
Can you turn your chair straight?
Herb?
I'll wait till they're done talking to each other. Herb Bowen, member at large, Scott Parks, do San Jose neighborhood CERT and a bunch of other things. So yeah, that's what I do. Don't call me though, or send me.
So Barbara is our treasurer, and she's not here. I'm not sure if she's able to attend. She recently had a medical procedure, so she may not make it. And then we do have a new member at large, Peter Chen. We can go ahead and introduce him if he is able to attend, and he's going to be focusing on helping us get more people, through Nextdoor. So help us with outreach. And also he's very active on the CERT program, which you'll hear a little bit more about later on. Okay. So that's the intros. And then we have, we'll introduce each of the speaker presenters as we go along.
I'm going to mention something here real quick.
Sure.
I was telling Karen a little bit earlier, when you're on mute in the Zoom world, if you have a keyboard and you press the space bar on your keyboard, it unmutes yourself. So that's a quick way to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you, Greg. That's a helpful hint. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes from our last general meeting, which were posted to the website. I don't think we actually sent them out, but if we have a motion to approve, or if anybody was able to review them and has any issues with them, please speak now, chat, raise your hand. And I'm not expecting anything, but if we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
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 Not hearing any objections.
Okay, minutes are approved.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next thing on our agenda is just a quick kind of a call for volunteers. We just want to remind everybody that we are a volunteer organization and we do rely on volunteers, especially for some of the funner and more neighborhood oriented events such as National Night Out, which is coming in August. We have occasional barbecues in the park, dumpster days, planting of trees, gardening, working on the native plant garden. So occasionally we do need volunteers to get that stuff done. And if you are interested in anything like that, if you can please send an email to me at vp@lospaseosneighbors.com. I'll type that in the chat. then that would be great. And then we could just add you to the list and then reach out at, when we need volunteers. So that's that. Grant funding update. So normally Barbara would do this, but with she's not here. And so she asked me to just give a quick update. So we submitted the final report to the city on our completed 2022 grant. And we are still waiting for the 2023 grant that we discussed at the December meeting to be awarded. We applied for $5,000 and we use those funds for various things like National Night Out, events in the park. We had like two hot dog kind of barbecue things in the park last year. We use it for our Christmas event that's held the first week of December every year at the Las Paseas Pool House. So those kinds of things are what and occasionally a park bench or different things like that throughout the area. We only get 5,000, so it only goes so far. But that's what we generally do with our grant money. And let's see, I think the next thing on our agenda is the presentation, the budget presentation from Mayor Matt Mahan. Matt Quevedo, did you want to do a quick introduction of the kind of this change? And is Matt there?
Yes, I am here. Thanks so much, everyone. Good to see you all. Matthew Quevedo, former Chief of Staff to District 10 office, now Deputy Chief of Staff to Mayor Matt Mahan. The mayor apologizes.
Excuse me
for
for interrupting. I don't mean to interrupt, but Captain, are you going to be okay?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Greg. We should have gone an update agenda. I'm so sorry, Matt. I think Greg reached out to you to say that we're going to have a change in order, and I'm looking at a piece of paper, and that piece of paper didn't have the change in order. So,
oh, Roger.
Can we shift gears? Apologies.
No worries at all.
We needed the police captain and sergeant to go ahead of you because they have an event that they need to get to. So, Greg, can you introduce the police?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who has shown up tonight. There was an old saying by a country western singer, Charlie Daniels, that said, "Don't look at the empty seats, look at the seats that are full." And I'm looking here at people who came from our neighborhood, and I want to thank you all for coming, spreading the word what you see tonight. And thank you for the people from the city who showed up tonight to educate us on many things. So I really appreciate that.
So with that, we'll hand it over to Captain Donahue and Sergeant Yates.
Hi, everybody. Karen, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So Matt, listen, Matt and I talked earlier today, and I appreciate your flexibility, Matt. It turns out I think I'm one of his favorite people. He doesn't know this yet, but I think I'm getting there. I'm wearing him down. So good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Steve Donahue. I am your new Southern Division captain. So I am going to be with you hopefully for the next 2 years, give or take, in Southern Division, and we're going to be solving problems together here. I'd like to introduce Jeff Yates. He's also here with us now. Most of you already know Jeff. If you don't, he is God's gift to Southern Division. This guy is absolutely outstanding, phenomenal police sergeant. And I'll tell you, since I came to Southern at the beginning of February, I have been to a gajillion neighborhood association meetings, but not one has a sergeant asked to join. And this is the first time. And I think that speaks volumes about Jeff and his commitment. And I appreciate that. So I just thought you guys would like to know that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Appreciate all your work you do in our neighborhood, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you could allow me to share my screen, I want to share a couple of things with you before we get going here.
Let me see it. Oops. Oops.
That doesn't sound good, Greg. A lot
on,
of hoops
Greg.
in there.
It's not
Pressure's
letting
building.
me-
Do you want me to have Issa come help you out?
It's not showing all the all the participants. Oh. What the heck?
Okay, try it now. I think
There we
I-
go. He got
okay.
it. He got it. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Of course. Let me make this big and share screen. All right. What I'm sharing with you here is this is a QR code. If you guys pick up your phone and you go to take a picture of this, it'll open up a little link. Don't snap the picture unless you want to save it and go back to it later. But if you click that link, this is going to take you to our new camera archive and mapping system. Now, what this does is it allows you to put in your address, your name, your phone number, and how many cameras you have and how long you retain them for. And the reason this is important is twofold. First of all, we are not collecting your camera video. We're not asking you to give us access to it. You know, we're not keeping any of that. All we want is your contact information so that when something happens in your neighborhood, we can take a look at who has cameras in that area. And then we can get a hold of you and say, hey, listen, can you check your cameras for a red Chevy Nova? And, you know, ask you to take a look at your own footage. And if you have something, offer it to us to help us solve crimes. So basically, what this will do, let's say we have a missing person, right? Someone with Alzheimer's goes missing in the neighborhood and they wander off and they're wearing an outfit. We can send an email out to you and say, hey, have you seen this person? They're wearing this thing. They're wandering through the neighborhood. You can check your cameras and help us find them, right? It's not just about crime, but it's really about working with the neighborhood. And this is actually a very powerful tool for us. And we're kicking it off. We kicked it off about 4 weeks ago. We've got, oh my gosh, hundreds and hundreds of houses have registered their cameras already. And so at all our community meetings, we're asking the public to do the same thing. So please, if you would, register your cameras. And Issa is a big proponent of this, and I think I got the thumbs up from him. So please help us out with this. And then the next thing is a QR code for me. So this is my email address. I also put it in the chat. You can scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, and it'll take you to the Southern Division webpage on sjpd.org. You can email me from there. You can email our crime prevention specialist if you had anything you needed there. You can also go from that website and start getting stats or information that you need. So I wanted to put those up. My email is also in the chat on the Zoom. So if you need that and didn't get to capture it when it was up, it's in there. So let me give you an update on the climate. So in the last 60 days, we've had 1 vehicle burglary in the area and 2 commercial burglaries at the shopping center, which is very low, right? Considering it's 2 months long. It appears the commercial burglaries were not related since they occurred almost 2 months apart, one in January and one in March. And then in the vehicle burglary, we figured out that someone had left their tools, their equipment in their car overnight. So if you could please remember and please remind all your neighbors, don't leave anything visible in your cars. That's only going to entice people to break in. If they look in the window and don't see anything, they move on to the next car, right? But if they look in the window and see a bunch of tools, those are valuable, can be sold quickly and easily. And so they're going to break in and steal it. I think we're glad that we've only had 1 vehicle burglary, but we want to have 0. Speaking of 0, we've had 0 robberies in the last 2 months, 0 aggravated assaults, 0 homicides. In the last 2 months, we've only had 1 minor injury collision in the area, no major injury collisions. And that vehicle collision occurred on Monterey Road. So it was due to a vehicle entering the roadway when they shouldn't have. In the last 60 days, we've had 19 proactive events. The majority of those were patrol checks and foot patrol by the officers like Jeff Yates' team out there walking around the neighborhood. And I think we can take note of that. You've noticed that I've said no robberies, no aggravated assaults, only 1 vehicle burg, 2 commercial burgs. These are very, very low statistics. And I think we can attribute that to the patrol checks and the foot patrols that Jeff Yates and his people are doing. So exceptional job on their part. And that is all I have for you for climate. Do you have any questions for me?
Is that when you say that's for the climate, that just means that's the current stats for our area for crime?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, your area is very low crime right now, which is great.
Mary has a question. Mary?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Captain Steve. This might also be for Mr. Quevedo, Matt. Captain Steve, you're very familiar with the Morgan Hill Unified School District, I think. And our Martin Murphy.
What makes you say that, ma'am?
We have an outstanding.
My wife warned me about you, that you were going to be up here.
One of our.
So listen, my wife is a principal in the Morgan Hill Unified School District at the other middle school. She's at Britain, so that's why. So I am very familiar with the Morgan Hill Unified School District.
She's an outstanding administrator, and we're so lucky to have her. And as you probably are aware, we could really use some more school resource officer support at Martin Luther Middle School. And so I'm just going to put that out there, Mr. Quevedo. Matt, if you're listening, I'm going to be saying this to Mr. Our new District 10 council person as well. But hopefully with some of the new candidates you guys have coming through, we can beef up the school resource officer team.
So here's what's going on with school resource officers, and Martin Murphy is a bit of a weird one. And the reason being is it's a Morgan Hill school in San Jose, right? So San Jose has 4 school resource officers for the entire city and only 1 in my division. So he has to cover, and by the way, I have the biggest division in the city. Yeah. So he has to cover the entire division, anything that happens. And we've got some pretty busy schools, right? When you count Oak Grove, Andrew Hill, I mean, it can get busy out there at other schools. So that school resource officer doesn't necessarily go to Martin Murphy. They'll go if there's a call for service and we get called out, they'll come and help on that. But we also have Morgan Hill PD that comes up and has school resource officers that come up to Martin Murphy. I had an interesting event there when I was a lieutenant where we had an allegation of a kid with a firearm on campus. It turned out to not be a firearm, like a real firearm. It was like a BB gun, but it was San Jose police that responded and Morgan Hill's police school resource officers. So it's a bit of a weird limbo period or limbo spot right there.
So given the effectiveness of patrols and how great patrols are at calming, and we know how great it is on our Morgan Hill high schools to have a Morgan Hill PD school resource officer exclusively assigned. We get a lot of FaceTime with him on the multiple campuses there. So some lobbying with the city budget to really beef up 4 is obviously not enough to cover the city. 1 is not enough for Southern Division. We feel it. Right. I think it would be a great boon to the neighborhood if we could have some more school resource officers. Keeping the school calm and happy keeps the neighborhood calm and happy. So otherwise, when you guys do respond, it's fantastic. We love San Jose PD. We just want more of it.
Well, thanks. I want more San Jose PD too. Hey, we're hiring if anybody wants a job. Greg, if you're looking.
Peter, sorry. Yeah, Peter has a question. Go ahead, Peter.
Hi, Captain. So within our community, I think the last couple of weeks, we have several trespassing from like people with an outstanding warrant. So I think that was pretty recent. So a lot of people on Nextdoor, they kind of knew about this. So I don't know if you know about this particular case personally, but what are some ways we can prevent, people with outstanding warrant trespassing within our neighborhood?
Well, you're kind of talking about 2 different things. Trespassing and outstanding warrants are different, right? Anybody can have an outstanding warrant for anything from a traffic violation to a felony crime. For trespassing, it's a different animal. In San Jose, we have a trespassing municipal code that we use. If somebody's been told to leave or stay out of an area and they return to that area, we actually get to arrest them and cite them for the municipal code. They end up getting a ticket, it costs them money. But in order to book somebody into jail for trespassing, there's a ton of different nuances to the law, that whether or not it's fenced, whether or not it has signs, whether or not the property owner has told them to leave or not come back, or someone responsible for the property. And each one of those triggers a different penal code. So there's no kind of blanket, hey, this is what we need to do for trespassing, but I can give you some pointers. Cameras help, right? Cameras are a big deal to us. They can help us find the person. They give us a heads up when somebody's trespassing on a property. Anytime you have a property that's fenced and secured, it gives us a lot more leverage, because we can say that, hey, they broke into the property to be able to trespass. If you have a property that's open to the public, like anybody can walk in, then there's very little that we can do with trespassing except for that muni code, right? So fencing, signage, cameras, lighting, these are all key parts of preventing trespassing and people from being on your property.
Yeah, I think this particular individual was harassing the neighbors and, peeping through the window. So multiple people were aware of this. So it was
peeping is a whole different animal.
Right.
You didn't say peeping before, and that's not fair. You gotta give me all the information. Yeah, peeping, that's definitely Jeff Yates's people, and they're gonna come out and arrest him for that. Can't look through other people's windows.
And we did. Officer Novak was able to find that individual, but it was due to a call for service. And, that is one thing, is to be vigilant of your neighborhood. And that's what you guys are doing. I had Mr. Peck get a hold of me via email, and then somebody had actually picked up the phone and called, and Officer Novak went out there. And I got to say, this is a person that you do not want in your neighborhood. So I'm glad we were able to help out, and he returned back to jail. So
Glad to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Herb has a question.
Couple things. Well, how long did it take him to get out of jail, guys? I got this rotation going out of here. I had one guy that beat up my, O'Reilly's manager, and he was out in the, a day or two back at the site again. So anyway, yeah, that's a common problem, and we need to address it in the community so we can keep these guys out of the community in jail if they need to be. Other question I had, Lieutenant McKim helped me do some traffic enforcement around Martin Murphy. You guys issued 52 tickets for speeding. I'd like to get traffic out again. So, Captain, if you could ask them to do that again. I had DOT put more signs out that it's 25 miles an hour around the school when children are present. So they should be more visible, but I need to get more. They just go too fast coming over the hill from Bailey. I think a lot of them got like 25 or 30 mile an hour over the speed limit. So they're going pretty fast there.
Where are you seeing the traffic problem? On what side of the school?
Both, just Santa Teresa, both sides. When the kids are going back and forth. Last in December, we had one of our crossing guards push 2 kids out at a different school, but out of the crosswalk where these people are running the crosswalk. So I kind of want to put a full court press on the people coming from the Morgan Hill side in the morning, rushing to work, even around the schools. So Sergeant, if you could get your officers just during that time to drive around the different schools, if they're around it during that time. I was over in Almaden, lady stopped in the middle of the road. This kid went across the street and almost got hit by the other side. So my focus is here, and we're working with Vision Zero Task Force to address this. There's this problem with kids, almost getting it, and it's got to stop. So if you guys can put some focus on it, get the officers. I know we only have 13 traffic officers, and whatever patrol could do. Sorry, I know. You can't do much. Well, we had 40 before, right?
Yeah. Well, we had 60 before.
Okay.
So here's what I'll tell you. I will never lie to you. Okay. So
thank you.
You may not like what I say, but I will never lie. I promise.
That's fine.
The deal is this: we do only have 13 guys for the entire city of San Jose, and they go around to the high collision rate spots to be able to do traffic control to reduce injury collisions. That's their primary focus. Every once in a while, they'll do us captains a favor and go to a school. I just had them go out to Ledesma, and they wrote some tags out at Ledesma. But what ends up happening most of the time is when they go to a school, it's the residents around the school that end up getting the tickets. So it's the people that are in this meeting that are going to get the tickets, right? The neighborhood. So here's what I can do. I can ask the patrol team to come out, but we don't have very many radar people in patrol. And we can do a little suppression, maybe get some officers out there to be visible, that kind of thing. But you're probably not going to get a lot of tickets out of it right now. Okay. I'll do some traffic calming measures. I'll put a trailer out there with a speed thing on it facing that hill. And hopefully that'll slow people down a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, then we'll see what we can do with motors. But
that's what Lieutenant McKim did. He had that go out first, then had the guys come out. And in a couple of days, 52 tickets is a lot of tickets to give away. You're right. Around the school, you're going to get the parents. Go get them. Because I've had, over Los Paseos, the guy was yelling at a parent. He's going too fast. He's dropping his kids off running to work. So, whatever you guys can do would be appreciated. If patrol can do a little, just presence, okay? Even we send CSOs out there would be okay. So, somebody just to monitor the area, there's a presence. So, hopefully we can get some more CSOs in the next year. It's going to hard to keep officers in here with the retirement issues.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Please use the reaction to raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay. Amir Faraj Perry. Go ahead and ask your question. You're on mute. Hit your space bar. Thank you.
Hello? All right, can you hear me? Yep.
Yes.
Yes, Captain Steve. So I live in the neighborhood here, and we've been having issues with a handful of dog owners continuously walking their dogs without leashes, and they're just running like all through the middle walkway areas. And I have a 4-year-old daughter with some disabilities who she won't respond to me telling her to stay close to me, like if she's a couple feet away and this dog comes running around the corner. I've tried approaching one of the guys. He was getting pretty verbal and a little aggressive, and so I just didn't pursue anything anymore. But I know it is the law that dog owners, I also own a dog, that they're supposed to be on a leash. And I want to know kind of what can be done to help make the neighborhood a little bit safer, whether we post some signs or if there's a place we could document and take pictures and send this, or the police go talk to these people before someone gets hurt. One of them's a German Shepherd. So some bigger dog breeds, and I don't really know how to help address the issue, but I am concerned for the safety of my daughter and my family as well.
Yeah, that's scary. Okay, so for dogs, it's generally not a police issue. If there's a violent dog, a dog that's attacking people, something like that, we can go to that, but I mean, we only really have one thing that we as law enforcement can do, right? We can shoot the dog. We don't have the dog poles to be able to capture them. We don't have any of the necessary tools to be able to abate the problem without violence. So for cops, there's not much we can do about dogs off leash. Typically, that goes to our animal control services. I will tell you, they only have 1, maybe 2 working at a time. So it's usually a 30 to 60 minute wait for those people to show up. So I know that's not what you want to hear. I think the best thing that we can do now is figure out where that dog lives or where that person lives. And then we can come out later with animal control services. They can get cited after the fact. Right? They don't have to catch them in the act. They can come out and cite them, make sure the animal's licensed, all that kind of stuff. So there are recourses that are either emergent or delayed. Those are kind of your 2 options. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what would be the best way to go about that? Because it continues to happen, and it's It's really just frustrating. It's a safety issue for us more than anything.
Captain, let me intercept here. Can you give us a procedure that we could probably follow, and then I'll follow up with the mayor at another time?
Yeah, so if you've got a
Mayor,
dog that's off the leash, you can call 311 and you can report it that way. Ask for animal control services to respond out and make contact with you. You can tell them, hey, you know, this is what happened. This is where the guy lives. He keeps his dog off the leash. It's scaring my daughter. They will go over and contact the resident.
Okay,
All right.
Mayor, I will work with you on that. Do you have my email address?
I don't, Greg, but I could take it, or if you want to send it to me. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said 311, by the way. I've been a cop for a long time. We don't have 311 anymore. It's 277-8900, 8900.
277.
I'll put those in the chat. 277-8900. And then what was the other? There was another thing that I was going to put in the chat.
My email address.
Yeah, Greg's email. Okay.
Greg's email. Okay.
I'd like to.
Thank you.
We're getting kind of close to the end of this portion. Sergeant Yates, would you like to say anything?
I don't have a lot more to add to any of that. If there, I know we're running out of time, but if there's any questions or anybody wants to get a hold of me offline, they can email me. I don't know how to put mine up there, but my badge is 3824, and it's sanjoseca.gov, and I'll try to respond as best I can.
So that's 3824 at
3824.
sanjoseca.gov.
Correct.
Well, I'm going to say something. I worked with Sergeant Yates a lot. He's a great guy. We mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, and I can't mention it enough. Sergeant Yates is the type of guy that gets things done. And I want you to know, in our neighborhood, he has gotten things done many times, not just a few times. Thank you, Sergeant.
Isa, I really appreciate that. And, you know, in the beginning, I got kudos from the captain and everything, but I really do enjoy talking and meeting with the citizens. Our job wouldn't be what it is if we don't have the input from the citizens. So that's why I enjoy coming out. I have a great fear of speaking in public, but when it comes down to just talking with citizens and doing community policing meetings, I actually enjoy it. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much, Sergeant Yates. And I second what Isa said about you. We really appreciate you in the neighborhood. You've done every time I've seen you, and I really appreciate what you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will invite you out to the barbecues.
I look forward to it.
So I think we'll end that segment, and we appreciate you both coming and attending our meeting. It's very helpful to hear, you know, how safe our neighborhood is, and I think that's important for people to know and understand. So we'll move on to Matt Quevedo, and again, Matthew, I apologize for jumping the gun there, but let's go ahead and let you start your.
Sergeant.
Thank you. So let's turn it over to Matt Quevedo.
Do we have an announcement to make first?
What is that? Greg?
Before Peter Chen joined the meeting, we were going to announce that he's been very active in helping us in our neighborhood, at the park, a lot of the projects we've been doing. And as a result of his work and future work that he wants to do in the neighborhood and helping Los Paseos Neighborhood Association, the board nominated him for to be a member at large of the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association, and he was approved. So Peter is now a member at large on the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association board. Thank you, Peter, for your work.
Thanks for the warm welcome. Glad to be here.
Great.
Thank you, Karen.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Karen. And congrats, Peter. Welcome to the board. And thank you all so much. Again, my name is Matthew Quevedo. I'm the former chief of staff to District 10, now the deputy chief of staff in Mayor Matt Mahan's office. I am joined by the chief of staff, Mr. Jim Reed.
Hello.
And we are so thankful that you're all here tonight. Unfortunately, there was a scheduling conflict. Mayor Mahan is not able to join, but you do get the other Matt in the mayor's office. So here I am. Thank you all. Some of my favorite San Joseans are in this neighborhood. I am familiar with many of you and have worked with you on many of you on many issues. So looking forward to collaborating and working together in this capacity. So thanks again for having us. I am going to play a video from Mayor Mahan that he recorded for this meeting specifically. He did answer a couple questions that were asked yesterday from the board. And so we'll be playing that right now. Jim and I will be on the line and we'll be here for after the video to answer any questions. So please feel free to throw those in the chat or feel free to bring them up once the video is over. So I am going to share my screen. Thank you so much for.
Remember to click the button that says with audio. When you share your screen, there's a little button at the bottom that says share audio, because otherwise it won't.
Share sound.
Yeah, there we
That's the video clip. Perfect. Thank you. Second. You should be seeing Mayor Mahan.
Mahan, and this is being recorded for the Los Paseos Neighborhood Association. I'm so sorry that I'm not able to be with you in person. I had a conflict. I've been doing my best to get out to every neighborhood in the city, and things have been a little crazy around the budget process, but I appreciate your patience. I'm recording this video to give you an overview of the budget message that I put out and answer a couple of questions that I know you had all prepared, and then would love to follow up. I'll have a member of my team with you this evening to also answer any questions. And I'm very happy as we get closer to the final budget message in June to come out and do another round over Zoom or in person. So we'll keep the conversation going. But for now, let me jump into what's in the March budget message. I'm going to need to share my screen, so just stick with me for a moment. Okay, there we go. So I want to give you a quick overview of what is in my March budget message. And as you may know, this is how the process works. The mayor leads the budget process by putting out a message that the council reacts to and it can modify and add to, but ultimately by a majority vote gives the city manager direction around our priorities for the coming year. I think this is really probably the single most important thing we do each year as we decide where to spend the billions of dollars in public tax revenue that comes to City Hall each year. When the city manager comes back, she brings back a very detailed, literally 1,000-page message that accounts for exactly every dollar in the budget. And then I have the final opportunity to come back in June with a revised message, make any final changes. The council then weighs in and can make further modification. And we pass a budget in June that sets up our next fiscal year starting in July. Just for a little bit of context, your city budget overall is about $6 billion, which I know sounds like a lot of money. Most of that is devoted to long-term capital expenditures and basic infrastructure, and what we call special funds, such as the airport, which are fee-based. So users of the airport or other city services, such as the wastewater treatment facility, which we are all users of, pay a fee, and those fees are set to just cover the cost of providing the service. So when we're talking about the city budget each year, most of the focus is rightly on the general fund, where we have more flexibility and where really our priorities are reflected in where we allocate dollars and staffing. So to give you a sense of what the general fund looks like today, the majority of dollars, actually not the majority, the single largest slice goes to public safety, police and fire. A growing wedge in the pie here is going to housing and homelessness solutions. We'll talk more about that. Pretty healthy reserves, which is good because we are likely heading into a recession in the coming years. And you see parks and rec, public works, transportation is mostly road paving, your libraries and community centers, and then our planning, building, and code enforcement department with just about 1% of expenditures. So that's the breakdown. You'll notice I don't mention schools. That's your school board, which is its own elected body and has its own revenue streams. Same with hospitals or the jail. Those are the courts. Those are all state and county responsibilities with separate elected bodies, such as the County Board of Supervisors, with their own allocation of funding and their own jurisdiction. So your city, when you think about what we're responsible for at City Hall, it's a few key categories. Public safety, when you call 911, our police and firefighters respond. It's basic infrastructure like roads and sewers. It's key community amenities such as parks, libraries, and community centers. And then in the long run, what's maybe the most impactful in all of our lives, which is land use. So zoning, what can be built where, at what density, with what kinds of mitigation, and basically our land use patterns and how we develop and grow as a city. So getting into what things look like this year, the good news is we are projecting a modest surplus this year that is equivalent to about 2% of the general fund. That's the $29.9 million figure you see there. On the other hand, we are anticipating a deficit, a pretty small deficit, the following year, because there's an expectation that we are likely heading into a bit of an economic contraction in the next year or so, hopefully not longer than that. As we project out, revenues and expenditures are pretty even. There's not a lot of new money to spend on priorities. So we really have to be focused in on the most important things. I'll go to the next slide here that shows that there's even more of a rationale for focus than you might think. This year, we're spending a lot of one-time federal stimulus funds on programming that includes after-school tutoring programming and rent relief type programs that are running out of money. It's one-time funding. And so even to maintain half of that programming through the general fund next year would cost nearly $50 million that we frankly don't have. We also have a number of existing programs, including much of our blight eradication programming that has been funded on a one-time basis. We have to find room for that in the budget this year. So if you really step back and think about it, we're actually starting from what you might consider a structural shortfall in terms of current service levels versus the dollars available next year. So all of that is to say, we really have to be focused on our priorities. I think that's especially true coming out of a pandemic with economic uncertainty ahead. During the pandemic, we took on a lot of responsibilities that we had never taken on before, from food distribution to vaccine distribution, rent relief. And now as those dollars run out and we start to look forward to what our city most needs, it's the things that I'm hearing at every neighborhood meeting across the city. It's getting back to basics. It's addressing crime, it's reducing homelessness, it's cleaning up our city, and it's having a vibrant local economy so that people have access to good middle-class jobs. So that to me is the rationale for the basics. I would also say that I'm very confident that while we do have some real challenges around crime and homelessness and blight, if we are focused, we have a talented team at City Hall. And if we focus on fewer things, I'm confident that they're going to do great work. They'll be more creative. We'll have the opportunity to try more solutions in these areas, learn faster, and ultimately deliver better results for your tax dollars, for the limited resources that we have at our disposal. And so I'm really trying to make the argument here to the city council, and I could use your help with that if you agree, that we have many things we want to do, but we have a small number of things that we really need to do in the next year, which is start to make our city safer and cleaner and make sure that everybody's living indoors. So I want to walk through that in a little more detail, starting with public safety, which is really our primary responsibility at City Hall. The big goal here is to once again be the safest big city in America. And while we on violent crime are right there as one of, if not the safest city in America, we know that we have a lot of challenges, particularly with property crime, traffic violations, quality of life crime, thefts, and vandalism. So what can we do here? Well, let me give you one more piece of information just in terms of background here. We have seen that calls for service, 911 calls, have steadily outstripped our capacity to respond. And so while we have been incrementally growing headcount in the police department, our response times have actually gotten worse. And as you can see there, for priority 2 calls, we're taking twice as long as our performance target. It's taking us 24 minutes on average to get to you for a priority 2 call, which are pretty serious calls, when we want to be there in 11 minutes. And we're behind on priority 1 calls, which are the most serious calls, where there's a kind of an immediate threat or crime in action, typically violent crime in action. So how are we going to solve this problem? Well, we're going to need to hire faster. And my proposal has been, as you can see, just back to the slide for a moment, I'm arguing for us to double the rate at which we're hiring officers. That's the first big recommendation in my budget message, going from 15 new officers a year to 30. But to do that, we're going to have to grapple with some other challenges. You may be aware, especially if you get my biweekly newsletter, we are seeing fewer and fewer applicants to our police academy. It's become, in the eyes of many, a less desirable job, and we have to do a better job of getting out there, pitching why San Jose is a great place to work, why law enforcement is a great career. We have to do more outreach, more marketing. We need to look at incentives for referral bonuses from existing officers, getting others into the profession. Even relocation fees. We live in a very expensive area, and it's cost prohibitive to move here to take up a job in law enforcement. But it is critical that we properly staff our first responders, starting with police. And so that's going to be a real focus, as well as retention. And one thought on retention is, and this is something where the police union and I are very aligned, is looking at what you might call diversion or alternative responses. We have a lot of 911 calls that involve issues that may not require an officer with a gun. It could be a mental health call, it could be a youth who's in crisis, it could be something going on with a member of our unhoused community, a homeless resident. And to the extent that we can leverage the resources of the county or nonprofit partners to dispatch a first responder who is trained and maybe is backed up by a police officer, but really, better differentiating our response so that our officers have more bandwidth to focus on serious crime and criminals has got to be part of the strategy for better using our resources, but also not burning out our officers and better retaining them and maintaining their morale. Finally, on public safety, I'm advocating for us to make permanent and even expand our automatic license plate readers. These tools have been incredibly useful in addressing street racing, smash and grab robberies, stolen vehicles, a whole host of other crimes where we now have data on the movement of vehicles throughout the city. And just to assuage any fears you may have, we only use the data, which is just your license plate number and the time and location of the vehicle, when there's an active investigation. We are regularly deleting all of the video data if it's not being actively used in an active investigation, but it's been a really powerful tool for our department. Moving on to homelessness, probably the single biggest concern I hear from residents, we have to end the era of unmanaged encampments. And as you can see in the chart here, I know there are a lot of numbers there, but the bottom line is we've seen the number of homeless residents go up dramatically over time. Since 2011, you see from about 4,000 to nearly 7,000 homeless individuals. We have seen a small bright spot in the last year, which coincides with a big investment in interim housing or emergency interim housing. As we have added nearly 500 units of interim housing, we have begun to bring down the number of people who are unsheltered. And this is really important. You look at cities like New York or Boston, or we just had the mayor of Dublin here, same story there. These cities have just as much homelessness as we do, if not more, on a per capita basis, but significantly lower rates of unsheltered homelessness, meaning people out in encampments and living in vehicles. In fact, those cities, the unsheltered homelessness rate is in the single digits. Ours, by comparison, as you can see in the chart, is 75%. And it's just down from an all-time high of 84%, largely because we've been scaling up short-term interim shelter just to stabilize people. And I think we have a moral obligation to focus first on building basic cost-effective shelter and getting people indoors before we put most of our resources into building brand new affordable housing, which is a great long-term goal, but at a cost of $1 million a door and taking 5 years to build is just frankly too slow and too expensive to address the crisis we see on our streets. So here are a couple of examples. These sites have been surprisingly effective. A majority of people who have come into these sites in the last 2 years have graduated to more permanent housing. And recent analysis we did looking back at the last 2 years shows that the neighborhoods in which these have been located actually see fewer calls for service for both public safety and blight related issues. They're not perfect. And when I get to your question, I'm gonna speak a little more to this, but overall, it's just common sense that getting people into a safe, managed environment with sanitation and basic services is better than leaving them to languish out on the streets. And of course, when we leave people to languish out on the streets, they tend to deteriorate from a mental health standpoint to a worse condition, and it becomes harder to help people become self-sufficient, which is why, and this is really more of a state and county issue, though I think the city has a role to play. I've been really advocating aggressively this year for conservatorship reform, and there's a couple of bills up in Sacramento that would make it easier to compel people, this is what conservatorship is, compel people who are severely mentally ill to get the care that they need if they're really struggling out on our streets. And so what the city can do here is help identify land for a secure mental health facility, streamline permitting, reduce fees, maybe even chip in some of the money to build the facility. Ultimately, though, it would have to be operated by the county, and we need our partners at the county to at least meet us halfway on expanding mental health care capacity and getting people indoors. So that's on homelessness. And then to the third big priority outlined in my March budget message, cleaning up the city. I'm a big proponent of 311. It has come a long way in the last couple of years, and it still has a long way to go. But I believe that the 311 app on your phone, or even just picking up the phone and calling 311, should give you easy, efficient, and effective access to city services. You ought to be able to snap a photo of a pothole or graffiti or illegal dumping or a street light that's out, and get a notification a day or two later with a photo showing you that it's done, that it's been fixed. And for some of our services, such as filling street potholes, we're actually pretty much there. We're doing a fantastic job. Others, like abandoned vehicles, we're really struggling, and other services are somewhere in between. So I want to put a real emphasis on upgrading the technology, but also improving the back-end service delivery so that we are more reliable in delivering those basic city services that tend to have to do with blight and other basic neighborhood quality of life issues. Related to blight, of course, as long as we have 5,000 people living outside, it's really hard to keep our city clean. The most effective program we found for doing this is something called Cash for Trash, where we actually pay homeless individuals to pick up trash from the encampments, from their encampments, and keep them in green trash bags and put them out at a designated spot for the city to pick up each week. We also have a program called San Jose Bridge that I am calling on us to expand, which creates actual entry-level jobs with with income and the dignity of work and pathways to housing for homeless individuals who want to be part of the solution and want to work. And anyone should have the opportunity to work their way out of homelessness. And then finally on blight, I've in the message called for us to create a clean gateways strategy. You have a before and after image of a gateway to downtown that our office became aware of just a few days ago, and we got on it. We got our Beautify SJ team out there. We were able to engage with Caltrans and get some support from the state. And within a couple of days, it was like night and day, as you can see here in the image. Now we've got to get people inside, of course, to better manage blight related to encampments. But in the meantime, we cannot let encampments get out of control, as you see in the image to the left here. So that's that piece of the plan. And then finally, Beautify Your Block, which is a kind of going back to an old program. And you can see in the chart here, we used to have pre-COVID many more residents who were regularly engaged in volunteering for beautification, including just litter pickup types of projects. And that really fell off. And so I want to bring that back and have our Beautify SJ team training residents and small business owners to keep their block free of blight. by covering up graffiti, picking up litter, planting trees, those kinds of things. And I think that we can scale this program back up and build community while beautifying our city. And then those are the big three. Those are the basics: addressing crime, homelessness, and blight. But I want to also just make the case that we're going to have to invest in being a city that can attract investment. If we're going to build the housing that we need, or bring the jobs that we need to have the tax revenue to pay for everything else, we have to be a better partner for those who want to start a business in San Jose, or who want to build housing where it makes sense, such as in downtown. And we can do that, and my budget outlines how to do this, by significantly reducing our vacancy rate in the planning department, hiring dedicated project managers to shepherd key priority permit types through the process faster, expediting processes and giving applicants a single point of contact, and then hiring an economic development team that has a focus on turning our downtown around and making it a vibrant destination for residents and tourists, and also doing business recruitment, having someone who's thinking every single day of the year about how to recruit entrepreneurs and existing businesses to start and grow here in San Jose. Again, building our tax base. Downtown could have many more jobs, generating the tax revenue we need to provide all of the other services that our residents deserve. And then I also just want to acknowledge, because I get the question a lot, the city does so many other things beyond homelessness and crime and blight and economic development. We run an animal shelter, for example. We have a whole climate smart plan. We have a number of different parks and libraries. And I want to assure folks, those services matter. We're going to continue to maintain them, and I think we can incrementally improve them. But if we want to see transformative change, if we want to transform the outcomes we're getting on anything, crime, homelessness, blight, whatever the issue might be, whatever your key issue is, we're going to have to focus on fewer things. We can't do that by spreading the peanut butter across all the bread. We're going to have to concentrate and focus a bit. So part of my proposal here is also to improve accountability, which just means focus on fewer things, set goals, measure our performance, report it back to City Hall on a regular basis, and create a better feedback loop, or what you might call learning cycle, around moving the needle on the few issues that matter most to most of our residents. So that's the final piece of this, is bringing a little more data-driven and kind of performance management mindset to City Hall. So with that, for those who are interested, I hope you'll scan the QR code to subscribe to our newsletter and get regular updates on the budget in the weeks ahead. The budget process, as I mentioned in the beginning, will go from now all the way until about mid-June. And we want to hear from you. We need to hear your priorities, your advocacy. I hope, though, that you will be a voice for focus and delivering better results in a few key areas, because we have always been plagued by this desire to be everything to everyone, and then we tend not to deliver the results that our residents hope for and really deserve. So I appreciate the time. I'm going to stop the slideshow now and transition into your questions. I know we had a question that came in related to EIH sites, and of course, for your neighborhood being close to a couple of those sites and more proposed safe parking site, this is a really key issue. As you may know, last year, we've had a few conversations about this in the past. I actually brought forward a couple of memos that made the case that when we build an interim housing site or a safe parking site or a treatment center, whatever it might be, any one of the many solutions to homelessness that we need, the neighborhood that takes on and hosts that solution ought to be guaranteed that it's going to be better, not worse off. And some of the policies that I think would help us do that include having a local preference zone, where people who live within unhoused residents who are within the vicinity of that site are the first to be helped by that site. Having a no encampment zone around the site to keep it protected and take care of the clients who are being served at the site, but also to prove to the neighborhood that we won't let these sites become a magnet for unmanaged encampments or other challenges. And then just other enhanced services, more police patrols, a little bit of extra money for beautification. We know that these sites work. having an interim housing site or a treatment center is so much better for all of us than leaving people out on the streets to simply deteriorate and end up worse off. But I understand the concern. Everybody agrees with the solutions. Nobody wants it in their neighborhood. I get that and appreciate it. We in government have a responsibility for making your neighborhood better, not worse off. Unfortunately, the memos I brought forward last year that outlined that got some resistance from city staff and some of my colleagues. That's not currently quite policy. We're making incremental progress. Staff is looking at implementing local preference where possible. But I want to take it further. I really do want, as a policy matter, to make that guarantee. So I look forward to working with you to push that through as we do policy work this year. That's not necessarily a budget decision, but something that we've got to keep working on as we scale up these solutions. And then the other question that often comes up is just this basic question around how we get people indoors. This is again on homelessness. A lot of people ask, if you say you want to build shelter and treatment centers and then require that people come inside, how does that actually work? And the basic idea is this. And again, there's no perfect solution. What we're looking for is meaningful progress in improving the situation. The good news is research shows that about 80% of people living outside will accept safe, dignified shelter if it is provided to them. And yes, they may be struggling with depression or addiction, but about 8 out of 10 people will accept a safe individual, one of those modular units that we had on the screen earlier. So that leaves you with about 20%. I would take an 80% reduction in homelessness. That would be a great start. Then it gets a little harder. We know that repeat engagement and building trust is important for convincing people to come indoors. I think it's appropriate for a community when it's providing safe and dignified shelter to also enforce no encampment zones. I think it's appropriate to say, sorry, you can't be near a school or in an environmentally sensitive area or a commercial district, and really start to create incentives for people to want to come into safe, managed environments. And then you have the limited number of really serious cases of mental illness, where frankly, you have some individuals who just simply are not able to, don't understand their condition and are unable to accept care or recognize that they need it. And that's where conservatorship comes in. I don't think this is a large number or large percentage of the homeless population. Certainly some of the most visible folks we see on the streets who are the most vulnerable and who frankly also have the biggest impact on the community. And those are cases where I think we need our state laws to allow us to compel them into a care facility for some amount of time. And I'm not talking about locking people up and throwing away the key, but for 90 days or 6 months to give them a chance at getting stabilized and getting on medication or whatever they need and really turning their lives around and being able to make better decisions going forward. So I think there are some tools. I don't want to pretend that just because we build some shelter, we're going to have 100% of people off the streets. I think it's going to be a long journey, frankly, but we've been heading in the wrong direction for far too long. And I believe, and as I was indicating earlier, my budget here actually tries to get City Hall. I'm asking City Hall to sign up for a big goal, sign up for creating 1,000 indoor placements, safe placements for people to go by the end of this calendar year so that we can move 1,000 people out of unmanaged encampments into safe managed environments this year to make a real dent in our homeless crisis. So to do that, we've got to concentrate our resources. We can't put all the money into brand new affordable units at $1 million a door. I'm going to need your help to advocate for that. But if we want to end street homelessness, I think that's what we're going to need to do. So appreciate all the questions. I know my team is here to answer additional questions. I hope this was informative. Look forward to hearing your feedback and spending some time with you all soon. Thanks so much and have a great evening.
Perfect. Can you all hear me again?
Yes.
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 Is somebody speaking? I think I might have done something.
No, you're fine. You want us to just go into
Yeah, it looks
questions?
like people are talking. I'm sorry, for some reason the volume on my side went out. Let me leave and rejoin. I'll be right back.
Oh, Okay.
Okay, Michael, so you can hear me. I cannot hear you all though, but I see Karen's face. Okay, 1 second. I'll be right back. Greg, please let me in as soon as I rejoin.
So I don't know if there's other people from the mayor's team that might be able to take a few questions. Would that be possible?
Yeah, I would be, this is Jim Reed. I'm the chief of staff. I would be happy to start taking a crack
Okay.
At some of these. So just, I'll start at the top with the questions that are in the chat. First one is about how much it would cost to pay union workers to do more cleanup to bridge the gap in the volunteer drop off. You know, if you think an entry level position with the city with our living wage policies is probably somewhere around $60,000-$70,000. I'm speaking approximately. When you add in even basic healthcare benefits, and let's say they have a 401k type of retirement system, the cost of that full-time person working 40 hours a week is going to be approximately $100,000. And so a $100,000 person who does a great 40 hours worth a week cleaning up, they can have an impact. But if you really want to have an impact in a city our size with 1 million people, obviously we've got to figure out a way to scale that capacity. And that's why the mayor is so excited about enabling us to tap into these thousands of volunteers, folks like you who are active in your neighborhoods and who have been active before in cleanups or other civic causes, to see if they can enlist in a program like Beautify Your Block. So I think full-time workers can help, but to the point that the mayor made earlier, there's a limited amount of money that we have to spend this year. And there clearly are some scarce uses for that money around homelessness and crime that are so important that we need to focus those there and hopefully take advantage of the untapped volunteer capacity that the city was able to realize until very recently that got sidetracked because of COVID. Let's see, the next question are the 300 EIHs that the governor announced being given to San Jose. Is there a site ready to put them on? There are several sites being considered. We're just at the early stage of that. The good news is some of you who followed previous discussions at the council about various locations for these facilities have heard folks say that there are some great opportunities, for example, on Caltrans land or on VTA land. And especially since the state is pushing us and providing this great opportunity through the governor to get these 300 units up and running, we're looking at a couple of sites that have federal tie-in, or forgive me, state tie-in, as well as sites that the city has access to. So no, those haven't been cited yet. Obviously, there would be a full public process before any decisions would be made on where those go. And we are thinking that there could be some state sites in particular that could be good homes for those 300 units. Let's see the number. Let's see. Looking at Matt's answer, not from what I heard, but I can double check. The number from the state, I believe, is 200 with the mayor's overall goal of 1,000. I believe that's right. Somebody told me it was 250 or 300. The number changed today, and I wasn't with the mayor in Sacramento, so I don't know exactly what the number of units the state was offering is offering us is. It's going to be a little bit before those are ready to be installed, so it's perfect timing because obviously we've got to figure out the siting options and the power utilities and things that would need to accompany that. Just like we'll need to wait for the units themselves to be ready.
Is that all the that's all the chat ones? So let's go on to the people who have their hands raised. Mary, go ahead.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Mr. Reed. Mr. Quevedo, is he back on yet?
I am back and I can hear.
Somebody's dog is on. Hey, I like the slide with, well, what the mayor thinks citizens are concerned with. It's all true, right? Illegal fireworks, dumping, etc. I just really want to add green canopy to that list. It's so understated and it's so important for our neighborhoods. Green canopy, I think the city's been really poor on that. We've had to fight for every tree in Los Paseos to either remain up or get planted. I know we've got the excellent help of our city forest, and Los Paseos neighborhood was able to take advantage of that with a bunch of trees along Santa Teresa Boulevard. But I just really think that preservation of our green canopy and, more, it helps with so many things, including the health of our roads, health of our neighborhoods. So I would put that way up on the list as well.
No, it's a great point. And Matthew Quevedo and his neighborhoods team, one of the things they're leading across the city, not only cleanups and beautification, but also opportunities to plant trees. And we do have some untapped resources. Some of the money the city previously allocated for this hasn't all been spent. And I think we're hearing this loud and clear from across the city that we have to do a better job on it. And to your point, this impacts so many things, right? Air quality, just the civic feeling, fighting climate change, everything under the sun. So it's an excellent point.
Yeah, and I think just to prevent people from taking matters into their own hands with their trees, the arborist office is really able to respond quickly when there's a problem. So I think that's been underfunded over the past years. I think the arborist office plays a really important role as well. So it has to do with all the things that you mentioned. Thank you, Jim, as well as making sure that our city is able to respond when stuff's going sideways.
Also,
Yeah,
I would imagine we've lost a lot of trees, right? This winter.
Yeah, I think we're still tallying the damage, and I think we still have a few more storms to come, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably have taken a step backwards. That's a great point.
Let's go to Herb. Herb, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that one, I believe our San Jose Beautified grant we put in for Los Paseos might have some trees in it for the neighborhood. So follow up, I think, Peter, and with our team and see if that went through for the Beautified grant. The other couple of comments I have about the police department, we need housing for our new officers, firefighters, and police officers. I've sat through many of the council meetings. You approve housing, maybe 1% of that housing should go for that community. Extra incentive for them to come to San Jose and work, not seeing bullet holes in police cars, which we saw a couple months ago. So I think the mayor's got a handful there. I work with the recruiters. They're having a real hard time getting people here to come and be officers. With the issues of pay and a lot of issues there, but maybe we could come up with some housing alternatives for these new officers that come in, whether firefighters or police officers. The other thing I wanted to find out is in the budget, the Office of Emergency Management, I believe, is under the city managers now. Is there been any increases for the Office of Emergency Management? I'm looking for CERT people. Sorry, guys. We need to train more people in this city. We need 1% of the city to be trained for floods, pandemics, whatever you're going to use certain people for. So I'm hoping that budget didn't get cut, or is it the same? I'd like to find out about that. So Mr. Reed, if you could find out about that for me. And that's it.
Matt and I will take a note on the CERT part. Matt Quevedo, I don't have the answer to the CERT question. I don't know if you do. I do know on the issue about police housing, one of the challenges is that fair housing laws are such that I think you can only like school districts, for example, in California are allowed, if they build housing on school district property, they are allowed to.
You muted yourself, Jim.
Sorry. The only way that school districts, for example, are able to provide housing just for teachers or for school district employees is if they also happen to own the land. I don't know. I think there are restrictions on how much you can choose to say this person gets to live in a particular house versus that person. We might need state permission to solely restrict something just to law enforcement officers unless we're dealing with city-owned land. But it's a great question, and we will make note of that and follow up. Herb, that was your question, right?
Correct. I wanted to, yeah, if we could do this, my daughter's an officer, and a lot of our officers live out of the city. If we had an emergency, half of our officers live 30 miles away. So that's an issue when we have an emergency here in San Jose. So if we could improve it with that, that'd be great. And Matt owes me a phone call. Call me, Matt. Thank you.
Okay, let's take David Burkhardt's question.
Yeah, thank you. Just to Herb's question about the mayor's commitment to CERT. I asked him that question directly 2 weeks ago at the Community 8 roundtable. And, he nodded his head and looked everyone straight in the eye and said that he is committed to, keeping CERT as a viable line item in the budget. So, to Herb and Jim, right now it's something that the mayor has said, and we're just hoping that it's, it actually blossoms out into a real thing and real budget and a real commitment from the city to all the communities. That's all I have to say.
I would assume, thank you for that, Dave. That's very helpful. And I have to assume you're right, but Matt and I are very conscious of not saying anything that we're not 1,000% sure of. And just like you heard the mayor in the budget message that he gave talk about the power of scaling volunteers to pick up trash and beautify and plant trees and so forth. There's no better example than tapping into the talents of the people that we already have through a program like this. So it's inconceivable to me that it's not going to be a priority. At the same time, I can't speak to specifics, but Matt Quevedo and I have taken that as an action item, and we'll be getting information back to you shortly. And I also see Council Member Batra has joined us. Thank you, Council Member, for logging on. I don't know, Arjun, if you wanted to briefly add something to some of the questions that you've heard folks ask so far.
Thanks, Jim. They have scheduled me to be up for 15 minutes after the sergeant has given his report. So during that time, I'll try to give them hopefully some useful information and try to field some of their questions. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Arjun. By the way, Arjun, the police department has already given their report, so you will be up next.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Are we ready to go forward with Councilmember Arjun? Or there's one more thing in the chat. It says, what about having residents volunteer, host an officer in training like the San Jose Giants do with their young baseball recruits? We live near the training center. So I guess that's some food for thought for you guys.
Yeah. And Michael, looks like that's your idea. Somebody mentioned that to me, a friend of mine in San Francisco about 2 months ago, that exact same idea. I thought it was brilliant. And we've actually, I had an informal conversation with the PD about it. And I mentioned that to our policy person who does public safety on Mayor Mahan's team. I'm not sure if she has formally vetted that with the chief, but I think it's a brilliant idea. And especially we've got a lot of families in San Jose who have empty nests now. And there are certainly worse neighbors to have in a given neighborhood than somebody who carries a badge and a gun. And so I think there's a lot to that idea. And we'll see if we can follow up with some specifics on that one as well. I think it's an excellent idea.
Okay, I think we're ready for our council member Arjun Batra. And Mr. Batra, we really are happy
Sorry, Karen, to interrupt.
Oh, sorry.
Can I do one more quick call to action?
Sure.
Would love to encourage everyone, if you supported what you heard, you have comments, would love to hear you come out on March 21st, which is this coming Tuesday. The council is going to hear the mayor's March budget message. I am dropping a link right now in the chat box where you can join the Zoom for the council meeting, or would love to have you in person. But come on out, talk about what you like about the budget, and would love to hear you all supporting a more focused budget, so we could focus on the core essentials of public safety, homelessness, blight, and definitely growing our economy. So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. Sorry about that.
Mm.
Okay, now without further ado, we're happy to introduce our community to our new council member, Arjun Batra, and he's going to give an update on the happenings in District 10. So take it away.
One thing before, Susan asked what time that meeting is going to be, Matt. Can you please? Oh, she's.
Yep, just put it in. The council meeting starts at 1:30. Items should be up after 2 o'clock. But I'm going to drop my cell phone number in the chat box along with my email.
Oh, you're so brave.
So, my wife's displeasure, I share my cell phone. Please feel free to text me, and I will text you and let you know when the item comes up. Okay?
All right.
So Matt, can we get a copy of that budget or proposed budget? Is
Yes,
there something we can see before?
The memorandum, right?
Yeah, the memorandum has included a couple comments up, but I will repaste it at the bottom near my phone number.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So I think it's my turn now. Talk to you later. Okay. Good evening. This is Arjun Batra, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be with you virtually. And I hope to soon see you in person and hopefully in your next meeting or something. And my comms director, Bernal Rd, is also online. So if anything comes up, she will be able to add to it or take notes to be able to take it back for further pursuit. Okay. So you heard the mayor give you a pretty good overview of his budget guidelines, which is the primary message against which the city will be developing its proposals. And then eventually these proposals will be presented to the council. And if 6 members vote for it, it will be the budget. Till it gets there, it will be all work in progress. And the time is going to be till June. So I have scheduled a Zoom meeting with you on 29th of March. And that meeting is going to be for listening your comments about the budget. Today, there was time to listen and hear for the first time what those budget items are, what the guidelines. I'll get more specific with you in terms of what your input will be, and I will represent that input at the budget meetings, which I will be part of. And as a result, we'll be able to get your input into the budget, things you like, things you don't, and what line items should we add or enhance. So I will have some of my own ideas, but the primary objective of the meeting on the 29th of March will be to listening to you. And since you're getting the copies of the budget beforehand, I'm sure by that time this group is not shy about giving what they like and what they don't like. So I'm sure we'll be able to pick up some good ideas on the 29th of March from you. Okay. We'll also be, and I think link for this one is in the chat so that you will know the meeting is taking place on the 29th of March. While we're on the talking about listening to you, I have scheduled regularly every 2 weeks meeting. They will be on Wednesdays. On Thursdays will be on Zoom. Saturdays will be on in person. So there will be twice meetings. And again, you will be getting more details about that one from my comms director. I do want to be engaged with you in a two-way conversation so that all your ideas, inputs, and I don't call them complaints, any of your requests hopefully I'll take care of them before they become complaints. So there will never be any complaints from the D10. I am confident of that. Okay. Like any other council members, I'm trying to concentrate on the usual things which you are used to receiving. We are scheduling the dumpster days, shredding events as you are used to having them. We will be having those, and the details will be coming to you soon on that one. 4th of July celebration work is in progress. That will be happening at the Lake Almaden. And we expect, as usual, 30,000 plus people there, and hope most of you will be there to celebrate the 4th of July with us. You heard Mayor talk about that his priorities are public safety. One item about the public safety which came in front of the council was in the this Tuesday's meeting. You may remember that you in 2018 passed a Measure T budget, which was an additional tax towards improving our disaster preparedness and public safety. There were specific items listed on that September 18, 2018 memo, which Mayor Sam Liccardo had presented, that these are the things we want to do or your community needs. And as a result, you were asked to pass a Measure T tax increase or tax amount. It was 650 million. I wish it was 1,000, whichever would have been a lot lower tax. $650 million in that Measure T you were asked to contribute over time. And as a part of that one, also a community oversight committee was organized to watch that your tax dollars are spent on the items which you were told we will be doing. Okay, I happen to be one of those committee commissioners, joined in 2019, stayed on it till 29th of January, till I became a council member because I had to resign for that position. During that time, I watched your tax dollars went towards the right projects which you were committed. They did not go to anything which was not, even though that might be a worthy project. But we wanted to make sure that money goes what you were told that it will go towards. So in Tuesday's debate, there was a desire to have some of that money diverted to some other useful project. But we, after debating in the council, made sure that there was a resolution passed that any money in this Measure T funds will not be moved to any other project till all projects are successfully completed and they are inaugurated, they are useful to the country. So this project, if we allowed the diversion to happen, it might have affected our one of the fire stations, fire station number 23, may not be possible to deliver. And Mayor already presented to you that we are having some difficulty in meeting our response times on the fire activities. So we preserve that money to make sure it goes towards the building the fire station number 23. And any money, any savings, in case we manage to have saving from any project, they will not move to anywhere outside of this set of projects which you had approved on September 18, 2018, what you were told at that time. Okay, so just wanted to give you an update that your money is safe in that area. No diversion will happen till all your safety project, public safety projects are done. Okay. The other items I would say is that we've been also looking at the homelessness thing. My personal commitment is that I want to see the homelessness and affordable homes bending the curve on those. I don't think in the next 2 years I can help solve the problem, but I want to bend the curve on that. I do not believe that the current speed at which we build the affordable homes, or at the cost which we build it at, or the bureaucracy which approves these all of those taken together, I do not believe that we can build those fast enough at a cost which will be affordable to be able to solve the magnitude of the problem which has it become. Okay, if anything, the problem is continuing to grow with all the good projects which are happening, all the good programs which are happening from the federal side, from the state side, from the county, from the city. But total of those are still insufficient, inadequate to be able to address the problem which we have. I'm totally aligned with the mayor that we need to increase the speed and we have to find a way to reduce the cost. In our next meeting, I will give you my ideas on that one, that how I think thinking out of the box, taking some bureaucracy out of the process, we can speed up the thing and probably reduce the cost of it. I will share that with you and you can judge it, that if you find that this is likely to be of help, if you agree with me, or take it as a formal proposal for the city council to really think on that line and see if we can bend the curve on this problem. Because neither the unhoused nor the housed are pleased with the situation we are in. Okay? I think that might be a right place to stop in terms of my giving the talk. I want to give a chance for you people to give me any input you want to give. You can subscribe to our newsletter, District 10, and there's the QR code being shown by my comms director. If you can take that, you'll be able to get the D10 newsletter, which is on a regular frequency of every 2 weeks. And we will be publishing, the next one is coming out on this Saturday or Sunday. Okay. Open
Does
for
anybody have any
questions.
questions? Okay, Herb.
So, sir, I was wondering, the past office would respond in 3 or 4 days to any emails or calls to your office. Are you going to continue that practice? It was really nice to be able to get something back from the office there really quick and get a response back. And also, I'm on CERT stuff, so I will be working with you to get D10 set up with CERT. We have a lot of people. It's a big district, and trying to get a lot of people prepared for that. So, yeah, if you could, help me with that, we'll work it.
Sure. So I should have paid you some money to ask me that question, okay? Because the question you're asking is the community wants to know, and I want to tell proudly, the first person I have inherited in my group is Michelle Dexter, who is well known to all of you, okay? I inherited her and I promoted her. She was community relations. I have made her community relations and the chief of staff so that she can deliver the service which she has been used to giving it to you, keeping a two-way dialogue with the community to be continuing to happen. But she alone cannot do that. I have also inherited Charlene, who has worked with you on some of the events which we do, the dumpster days, shredding days, and all that. She is still in my group. Okay. Additionally, I have brought back comms director Amal, who used to work in District 10, but then she had decided to go away for some entertainment in other places. I have brought her back. She is full-time on the thing. She is going to continue to serve our D10. I have also taken a student intern, a very bright student from San Jose State University, who is working 20 hours a week with us to help us in this community activities. There's another lady who used to work in this group, Hema, who is again was a part-timer. I have increased her time to work on the community thing. She's the one who sorts all the emails which are coming in, and then she divvies it up to the right people who have expertise in those areas. Some go to Amal, some go to Michelle, some go to other people, or to the city office. So yes, you will continue to get the response, and hopefully you will get a response which is going to be much better than what you've been getting in the last 2-3 months of the transition time.
Very good. I appreciate that. And that money that you have, I'll be taking. So don't worry, it'll be gone out of your wallet.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Issa, you're next.
Yeah, I really don't have a question, but I just want to make a comment. I've actually observed Councilmember Batra in the actual last 2 meetings. And I think you guys, we are very fortunate to have him. And he's not paying me anything for this. But honestly, on the Measure T, they tried to push something through. When I say they, you can figure out who I'm thinking of. And Councilmember Batra just shut it down and convinced 8 out of the 11 to go with his suggestion. And I was very proud to know that he's from District 10. And the time before that was all on the 311 app and just trying to keep people accountable with the 311 app. So that's my comment. And you don't owe me anything, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember, this is Greg Peck. I want to second what Issa said about you. I've watched you in a couple of council meetings, and thank you for what you're doing there. And also, thank you very much for keeping Michelle Dexter in your office. We really appreciated working with her over the last year or so.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I like the endorsement. I think it was obvious the first 2 meetings I had with Michelle. And by that time, I already knew what the community wanted. So I did not let inheritance go away. She was supposed to go to mayor's office, but mayor had promised me that we want D10 to be extremely successful.
Something happened to your volume.
Sorry?
Your volume went away.
Oh, is it back?
I can hear him.
Yeah,
Can anybody else hear him, or is it just me?
Yeah, we could hear him.
Okay, so Michelle was supposed to go to the mayor's office, but mayor had promised me that since I'm
We can't hear
inheriting.
you. Can you guys hear him?
Yeah, we can hear him.
We can hear him.
We can hear him.
Okay. So he wanted D10 to be as successful in terms of getting the services it is used to. And he promised me any help I need getting the D10, those services. He's kept up that promise, and I lean on mayor's department fully as much as I ever need. And we're totally aligned in giving you that service, and you will continue to get that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Arjun?
I see one hand up there with the Patels.
That was just applause. Just wanted to say welcome and thank you. It's nice to have you as our council member.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very honored, and I consider myself blessed to be serving the community where I've lived for 40 years. And I've received a lot from this community, and I want to give it back to the community and make it better for the current community and its future community.
Sounds like we're going to have a good time going forward.
Okay.
Thank you very much for attending tonight and being able to be here with us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. We'll move on to the next portion. I'm not sure what happened to Karen's microphone, etc. Let's move on to Herb Brown will give us an update on the CERT and Vision Zero for about 10 minutes, Herb. And then we'll go to the updates on the Rue Ferrari and the Bernal Rd sites that Karen and I know about.
Yeah, so with CERT, we're continuing to look for new CERTs and training through the city. We have a communications team that's working on getting radios out to different communities. I've met with many of our communities in D10, D2. They all have issues trying to get everybody together. So we're working neighborhood associations, any group, you know, we're going to go churches, scouts, anybody that wants to get trained in CERT to prepare our community. That's what we're after. So the snjcert.org, that website has all the information you need to go out there, either sign up for CERT or just get information for your family. There's kids stuff out there, communication stuff out there, and you're all welcome to look at it. If you have any questions, contact me. Vision Zero. So I will just do an update on Vision Zero. DOT has put new signs out on Santa Teresa, making sure that everybody knows it's 25 miles an hour when kids are present. For the 2 crosswalks we have that go across there, we put extra signs around Martin Murphy at the blind curve that goes to the crosswalk. So we've done a lot there. So I encourage, we even have all the signs at Martin Murphy and Los Paseos asking the community to slow down around where our kids are going to school. So I encourage you to keep an eye on that. If there's any issues, let us know. I'm still working with DOT to finalize signage. And like I asked the captain to do a little bit more traffic enforcement from our team there. So yeah, any help or any questions you have, let me know. We're working with both principals to get assemblies to, let the parents know, because some of them are the biggest violators around the schools. So any kind of information you need, contact me. The Vision Zero Task Force meets every 3 months. They should be meeting the end of this month or April. I'd encourage you to check it out. A lot of good stuff going there with bicycles and things like that, how to make the community safer. And that's all I have, Greg.
All right. Thank you. Karen?
You have a hand up, Greg.
Jeff has his hand up.
Yeah, hi. Along the same lines as the signs and stuff for in front of Martin Murphy, is there a reason why there's not a stop sign at the intersection of Pawtucket and Avenida España? And that's right there in front of the school.
We're looking at different ways to do that right now. I'm working with DOT to mitigate the issues there. If it continues to be a problem, we have issues, there might be a stop sign. It's kind of harder to put a stop sign in. DOT did put more dots on the double yellow there, so if you go over it, you feel it. Trying just to prevent people from going too fast around that blind turn there as you get to that crosswalk. Also, you'll see more signage as you get there to do that. Now, we've talked to the principal, Debbie Stewart, and she's even might have parents go out with, and try to mitigate some of these issues, with just the parents trying to get, I get it. They're trying to get their kids to school, they're eating, and they got to go to work, and they're on their cell phones, but we need to make them more aware. So if the situation gets worse and I find out there's more misses, that's what started me on this. We had 3 kids this last semester almost hitting that crosswalk. And I've got video of one guy zipping through there. So I'm trying these different things. I got to work with DOT to do it. And, having awareness, mitigation, and enforcement. And, it doesn't go fast, but I was really proud of the city to step up, because in a couple of months we had all this stuff done.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, thanks for that question. We'll keep you up to date when we meet.
Okay.
Karen, would you like to proceed, or
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry about that before. I don't know what was going on. My headset's going a little wacky. Okay. So next we're going to do a quick update of the 2 EIH, which stands for Emergency Interim Housing. These are the 2 interim housing sites at Bernal and Monterey and Rue Ferrari. I'll go ahead and update you on Rue Ferrari, and Greg's going to update you on the Bernal Monterey. So both Greg and I are on what they call the advisory committee. It's not, we don't do much advising. We just do more listening. They give us an update every quarter with some statistics. we discuss any issues, and we do continually bring up feedback that we get from the community about things such as the RV parking in front of the gas station and the storage, the offsite storage thing on Monterey Road and Rue Ferrari. So we do bring up the things that we see that we are not happy with, the graffiti along the fencing in front of Bernal Rd. There's a few tent campments. So we just want you to know that we do constantly do feedback. There's various reasons some of that is allowed to continue. As far as the parking in particular, San Jose has a policy that they will not move a car that is being used as housing as long as it is parked in a legal parking area. So that's part of the problem. But we are continuing to work. We continue to kind of put pressure and continue to talk to them about enhanced surface zones around these places where they would do more graffiti abatement, car parking abatement, no camping zones, and abandoned cars, stuff like that. So regarding Rue Ferrari, there are currently 103 residences. It has capacity for 120. They generally say that when there's a little bit of vacant seats, just turn around, that, you know, they have to get the units ready for the next group of people. And there are currently, let's see, I got my paper here. There are like 175 people on the waiting list. So they generally are running at capacity. They usually give us statistics on things like successful exits and unsuccessful exits. So the last documentation we got, there were 76 successful exits. And that could mean anything from a client going into a permanent housing or permanent type of housing situation, for instance, the rapid rehousing, or they get another type of permanent housing other than the rapid rehousing, or they get a rental with a housing subsidy, with a voucher, with a tenant or project-based program that another nonprofit is running. Let's see, rental. Yeah, a lot of them are just kind of subsidized permanent housings. Even staying with a family is considered a successful exit. So those 76 successful exits in the last, I think this was the last update was from December. So we, unfortunately, the meeting that we get our updates is next week. So we weren't able to get the more recent stuff yet. On the other hand, there have been 53 unsuccessful exits in the last quarter. And some of those are things like 3 people did go to jail, 8 decided to go to emergency shelter, 6 people died. This isn't great, but a lot of these people have been on the streets for a long time and they have a lot of medical conditions. And it's just, some of them are elderly. So unfortunately that does happen. Some of them 2 of them went to long-term care facility or nursing home. 5 went to the hospital, and I don't know what happened after the hospital, but just as 5 exited, that's considered an unsuccessful exit. So they maybe chose not to come back. And then there were 27 that went back on it sounds like may have gone back on the streets. It said, it's unclear. It just says they went to a place that was not meant for habitation. So I believe that means back on the streets. So those are the kind of statistics that we get. We do get some success stories. And unfortunately, we tried to get this documentation. It's kind of interesting because they give it during the meetings, but they don't always follow up well, where we get it to a point where we can communicate it to folks like you guys. So we did have to go back and ask them for the slide presentation, and unfortunately it didn't include the success stories, but They usually, in each of our meetings, we get a success story from each Rue Ferrari and Bernal Monterey. So there are definitely some good things going on, and the programs, for the most part, I believe are pretty successful. I mean, it's not 100% successful, but I think they've proven to be more successful than a lot of other options out there. So I'll hand it back over to Greg to do the Bernal update, and then we can take a few questions if you have any.
Thank you, Karen. Over at the Bernal Road Monterey site, there are currently 75 participants in the program. They came from various places along the way during the last 2 years. Regarding the number of people that have exited over there, let me see. There were 54 have exited into permanent housing of various places. Some of them under the subsidy still, as Karen was saying. A lot of them, 8 of them were staying and living with family members. There was various ways that people have gone into permanent housing, but there's 54 success stories over there in that one. Currently, there's 217 on the wait list. As Karen mentioned, it's a little bit more than what's going on over there. A lot of them, 87 of those are for Columbus Park. And a lot of City of San Jose outreach is 63 out of that. Let me see. I'm so sorry. That's about the major update. So Karen and I go to these meetings, and she said that we don't advise, but we do give our inputs, and we have talked to the San Jose Police Department on what they think the impact of these houses over there are having on our neighborhood. And in general, the police department is saying that they see no serious impact of the people from that coming up into the neighborhoods. But we constantly are on them for that. And that's about all I have, Karen.
Well, I'm not sure we're on them for the police, but I think we bring up when we hear about things that we think are related, we do bring them up to them and try to work with them. But the police say they have a pretty good relationship with the folks over there, and they see it as a very positive. Both of them as very positive.
One thing that does happen is there's some people over in the tiny homes or emergency interim housing homes that constantly call 911 for various reasons. So the fire department goes over there quite often. They're trying to get that under control. It's generally 2 or 3 people that cause the problem. So they are stressing in that regards, but they continue to work those problems out.
So I think we were going to give Issa the opportunity to talk to us about this safe parking program that's coming in at the VTA, Santa Teresa VTA. So Issa, are you ready for that? Or did you have a question? I think Issa has a question.
I have a question, but let me just ask my question. Hopefully they're quick answers. Karen, on Rue Ferrari, there's some tents there because of people that were living along the creek. Are those going to be there much longer? Is that a permanent thing now?
Oh, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. Well, they have extended that program with this last set of storms. They did. Let me see if I can find my notes about how many people. Just a moment. I did write that down somewhere. Where did I put it? Hold on. Sorry about that.
No problem. While you're looking it up, tell me when you're ready. Greg, my question to you is more on my concern about the parking, and I think Karen said as long as it's legal parking on Monterey, they won't bother them. But also the enhanced services, when they passed those 2 EIHs, they promised to have enhanced services. And I thought that was part of you know, going and working with these people to get them off the street that are close to EIH. Is that pretty much gone, or we don't have that leverage anymore? Or what's the status?
So what happened is actually really literally about the same time that that they were implementing those, they started talking in language such that they said, well, we haven't really needed the enhanced services at the other sites, and we don't have the budget for enhanced services. So they never implemented enhanced services at those sites. And that is something I'm working on behind the scenes to include that in the budget, because for the sites were doing really well until, I don't know if it's not a whole year, and it may be COVID related, but when they were first implemented, they were really doing good. And then especially Bernal Monterey, I've seen more decline there than, like, if you go over to Evans Lane, it's spotless. If you go over to Maybury, it's spotless. So I don't know why we're having a little bit more problem over here. But I will say one other thing that has happened, because I drove by Rue Ferrari the other day in kind of preparation of this meeting, and all the RVs are gone. All the RVs are gone. They're not only gone from Rue Ferrari, but they're gone from the street next to San Jose Behavioral, where they used to be. There was one RV and one car. And I asked Adrian Vasquez, who works for Home First. I had the Mayberry meeting today before this meeting, and I asked him, what's going on? What happened to all the RVs over there? And he said he doesn't even know. He said he doesn't know what happened to them, but they're all gone.
I can help you with that one. Thank you for the SJPD, because a lot of them, I'm sorry to be offensive to some, they were criminals and they were stealing cars and they were taking apart the parts and, you know, doing their thing, and the police were tired of it, so they cleaned it all up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because even a Home First employee who's involved with this program wasn't even aware of what exactly happened.
I don't think they want to talk about that kind of stuff.
I don't think I got that impression.
Okay. Anyway.
So go ahead and
yeah. So the tents, I'm just curious.
Okay, so I think I found a note that there's 37 currently using the tents, and they are extending that program with this last storm, and I think they are as people go into the tents, and then as vacancies happen in Rue Ferrari, for example, they can move them into the Rue Ferrari, the modular units. So it's kind of a interim process, it's like a circle. They said it, I think there's more than, I thought there were 60 tents, and they said there's 37 that are full. And I haven't noticed any, I really have not noticed any impact of that. I haven't noticed more people walking around the neighborhood any more than there were before. And he did say that for most part their needs are met, and so there isn't a lot of reason for them to go searching and wandering around looking for food or looking for this or that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
So on the state parking site at the light rail station, it ends on Santa Teresa. The community advisory committee, I guess the CAC they call it, I'm the chair for that, just like Greg and Karen are the chair for the EIHs that she just talked about. The difference is I was fortunate enough to get involved before it opened. They weren't. So we do have a big impact. And I'm only saying this because we need more people to show up on the Zoom meeting, because I think numbers matter. And it would be nice for people to be informed. We have a 1 hour short meeting. I mean, we just go right through. It's 1 hour, and there's a lot of meat in it. And so being in front of it, and again, I'll thank Councilmember Batra. I was having problems with them not responding. He got involved, and he was in the next meeting, and they responded very well and had meetings since then and moved it along. So just let you know that they're trying to open it up March 1st, but because of all the rain, it won't open up until maybe a week or 2 or 3 later. We're going to find out the next meeting. It's always the second and fourth Monday of the month at 7 o'clock. And if anyone's interested in being part of that, you can email me at 569ISSA. That's 569ISA@gmail.com. And you'll find out things like that. But we are making some headway, and we do get the fire marshal involved beforehand to tell us what kind of things are going on, and the police, and just a lot of good stuff. And we're able to give them good input. And we've already been able to correct a few things that they were thinking they were going to do, and they saw the community didn't want it to happen. So that's about all I have to say.
So he said, did you do the population survey around the community? You mentioned you were going to do that.
Yes, there was 4 of us that did it, and there were 36 RVs, and that's when I saw that Rue Ferrari in the street next to it. I forget something parked or whatever. They were all cleaned up, and I investigated why. That's when I found out why I said what I said. But 36 went all the way around, a team of 4 of us, and gave it to the CA, or gave it to Life Moves with pictures, so James could, do a correlation, and he can give us a tally of how many he's contacted and things. And I'll have that ready a week from Monday, which I think is the 27th. Yeah, I think it's the 27th.
And then also, if they can't make the meeting, you send meeting notes out after the meeting. So if they want more information, just send your email so they can get that. I know some people can't make it. So yeah, just to keep people informed. Thank you.
Yeah, we put the agenda out, and then we put the minutes in blue, so you can see the answer to each agenda item. So it's real simple. Even if you can't make it, at least you can be updated.
Thank you, Isa.
Thank you.
I think it's helpful. The meetings are helpful. Okay, so I think that wraps up that. We have one more. We need a very, very quick update on the fireworks, Greg, because we're over our time.
Okay, Karen. Let me give you an update that there is a lot of things going on in the background on illegal fireworks law enforcement in San Jose. There's a gentleman named Steve Spivak in the Cottle Tulane Neighborhood Association who's been working on this for a couple of years now. We met with the mayor, the city manager's office a couple of years ago and worked with them. And I believe by those efforts, we got the fines increased from $500 to $1,000 for a first offense. And I think it should have been more, but that's what it did. Right now, Steve is continuing to work with the mayor's office. Thank you, Matt. And we're going to try to concentrate the July 4th enforcement known hotspots in the areas of San Jose based on 311 inputs on the previous years, basically District 3, 5, 6, and 7, to train and collaborate with San Jose Strike Team. That's going to happen this year. And we're going to be trying to collaborate with outside San Jose police departments, sheriffs, CHP, CAL FIRE, state, federal, Department of Justice to track and intercept and prosecute people who are bringing illegal fireworks. And these are not just simple fireworks anymore. They are big bangers. They're professional grade. They should not be put off in neighborhoods. So we're continuing to work with the mayor's office to maybe put some money in the city budget to help coordinate and have some collaboration with other people. Maybe another thing we could try to do is have an opportunity for residents to sell back fireworks if they ever get them. And another thing he's going to try to do is provide outlets for residents to participate in legal fireworks shows like we've done before. And thank you for doing that again this year, Matt. I believe it's going to happen. That's about all I have to say. We are also involved in trying to get in touch with the state attorney general to do his due diligence in prosecuting illegal fireworks entry into California from various places. Thank you.
Any questions? I think that's the last thing we had on our agenda. Greg, do you have any final comments, or anybody else have anything final to say? Oh, Jeff Peak would like to talk. Go ahead, Jeff. You're on mute.
Yeah, my last question on the stop sign kind of made me, I forgot about one of the other questions I wanted to ask. On Avenida Rotella, there's speed bumps and they don't continue all the way down on Avenida España. I'm just curious, how do you get speed bumps put in? Because it's just a straightaway and there's lots of speeders. My wife reminded me of this question.
So there's an issue with the fire department. They don't like them. And that's our, you know, we had those there before. They kind of complained, and it was an issue of, they want to go around. They have a full load of water, some issues there. They did make those bumps lower now. But yeah, I mean, it's an issue with the fire department and response time. So I don't think we'll get any more around there. Those do help because we had a lot of people jumping over, you know, people trying to get around them, going slow. So they've kind of done their job there, and you know, I'm glad they put them back. But I don't think we'll get any more because the fire department kind of discourages it.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it, Karen.
Okay, well, we thank all of you guys for coming and sticking with us. We thank all Councilmember Arjun for coming, and the District 10 folks, and Matt and Jim Reed, and the rest of the folks from the mayor's office. We really appreciate you guys attending. And thanks everybody else from the community. I hope you guys got some good information. It was a good meeting. So have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, Karen.
Thank you all for your